Surprise! It's me again. Welcome to Art School Live, everyone. Eric was out this morning feeling a little under the weather after traveling, so I get to host again. And for those of you who don't know me, 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗵, Director of Virtual Events here at Streamline, and sometimes co-host for virtual events and sometimes replacement host for Art School Live, which I love doing because it's so much fun to get to talk art, which is why I also host the Pastel Podcast. With us today, we have somebody who is no stranger to Art School Live. Let's welcome Leslie Hamilton. Hi, Leslie. How are you?
Hi, Carrie. Great. I'm here in beautiful Sedona, Arizona, for a few days with friends from high school, actually middle school, and my husband.
Oh, wow.
And we've had spectacular sunsets, but a little too much work goes into that. So today I'm just going to do some of the red rocks that are in a field of actually very interesting trees. It's poisonous nightshade.
Oh, interesting.
I know. I got a plant app, and my friend was reaching with this to the berry, and she goes, "What do you think it is?" And I went, "Don't touch that."
It's poisonous. Oh, that would be terrible. Oh,
Yeah.
awesome.
She's alive today, so we're good. They're out hiking while I'm
Because of your
doing
plant
this.
app. There you go. What did we do before those?
Yeah, I know.
So what are you sharing today? Can you remind me what are you going to be painting?
I'm going to be painting some of the red rocks that I saw on our hike yesterday, right where we had the deadly nightshade tree. And just to demonstrate how to paint the red rocks, I have a limited palette because I was here with friends to just kind of chill. And so I kind of cobbled something together for us. So I'll give you a look at it real quick and then we can get started.
I love when artists do that.
Oops.
There we
Kind
go.
of basic colors, and I can listen, as I start, I'll listen for you. But I'll be doing some mixing while we're working at it. So
That's awesome.
it's thrown together and here we are.
Make it work. Make it work. All right, let's go ahead and get this show started.
Thanks.
It's Art School Live with Eric Rhoads. Now, here's your host, Eric Rhoads.
𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗵, welcome to Art School Live, everyone. Eric is a little under the weather today, so I get to be your host for today. And I did not plan this. This was all last minute. So we have another gouache demo for you today from the lovely Leslie Hamilton, who is no stranger to us. She fills in all the time for us. She comes and shares all of her wonderful knowledge. And I'm excited for this demo today because I love when artists can show kind of like working on the fly. I hosted a last minute Art School Live where we had someone cancel. And so we had someone fill in really quickly. And so he was painting on sandpaper with his pastels because he didn't have any other paper with him since he was traveling. So I love when artists like Leslie today, they weren't prepared to paint. So they're kind of pulling everything together at the last minute just to show you how easy it is to, just quickly put things together and start painting. So Leslie is joining us from Sedona, Arizona, where she was traveling, and she's going to show us how to paint some red rocks. So let's go ahead and let Leslie take it away.
Thank you. I am here, and I'm going to start, since we did cobble this together, I'm going to start and explain some things pretty quickly. I managed to get hold of one of these little inexpensive palettes, and I filled it with kind of a limited set, and I'll tell you what I'm using. From ivory black, I'm going to burnt sienna, alizarin crimson, I think it's Windsor red. I've got cadmium orange, I have cadmium yellow deep, and I have two different greens. I think it's called brilliant green, and I have permanent green medium, and then I have ultramarine, and of course, a ton of white.
Of course.
So they work really well. You can get them at almost any store, and so on the fly, it's good. Now, what you're looking at right now is piece of vellum. What I like to do when I do my work is, particularly in the studio, but also outside, I like to throw a piece of vellum over my substrate and sketch, particularly if there's a complicated scene or something I want to move around. I don't want to be messing up my substrate. So that was what this is. And so I've already traced onto my substrate with a piece of graphite paper.
Where do
You
you
can't see the,
can you get that graphite paper at like an art store? Somebody last week was using like carbon paper.
that's basically what it is, but this is slightly different. I'll tell you something. You can take a thin piece of vellum and you can color the back with a really soft black graphite pencil. Then you take, I think it's isopropyl alcohol with a rag and gently rub it, and you create your own graphite paper.
Oh, well, there you go.
So,
I have a whole roll of vellum paper, so I'll be doing that.
yeah. Oh, it's great to do that way. So you might not be able to see the lines there. They're here though. Carrie, oh, you do have a shot of mine now. You're so small on my screen. I'm working from a laptop. I apologize. So over here on the left, lower left, we've got that beautiful red rock, and then around it are these really pretty, just wild grasses, and then the tree over here, and then there's a second rock, and then back up here there are more small rocks. So it's been pouring rain. We had thunderstorms yesterday, so between the rain we ran out, got some photographs. So we've got wonderful puddles there, and it's fall, of course, so the leaves have fallen as the wind has blown. So we're going to have some beautiful shapes to work with. My substrate is a piece of heavy board, crescent board, and then I make my own gesso. So it's the good old-fashioned gesso. I just, and people think it's a lot of work, but if you get a whole bunch of boards done at the same time, then you have this wonderful smooth surface.
Mhm.
I've left some of it rough because I thought it would be fun to do that instead of sanding, in order to help me demonstrate the grasses that are in the foreground here. So what I'm going to do very quickly is I'm going to mix some color up. I have a pan here. It's a regular baking pan, a small one. And I'm going to make some kind of dark brown ochre mixture. And we're going to start with that. And I'm going to go into my rocks first. I have a flat brush. Whoops, I've got too much on. I have a flat brush here, and I'm going to go to the top of the page, and working from that area up there, I'm just going to do some crisscrossing so it doesn't look too mechanical. I just want to drop in that area where those other rocks are. I'm letting it be wet enough and inconsistent enough so that it actually gives some interesting color variation like we're seeing in that picture. Now, the picture for me is off to my left, so I'm going to be working from that. I'm going to start with the second stone right here and knock that in. And one of the things I've found about gouache is that you can lift it almost too easily. So if you're not careful, if it bleeds into another color, you can pick that other color up. Or if you've painted a color and you pick it up, you're going to end up getting a little bit muddy. So this is, I'm going to try to keep my spaces separate. We've got another rock up here, half hidden. And I'm using the same amount of paint. I'm letting it get thinner. I'm just letting the paint be its own thing. And that's half the fun of this. I'm a little more controlled in the studio, but we're going to pretend that I'm outdoors right now. Okay, next, we've got a little bit of a lighter color that is a little lavender. So I'm going to try to mix that over in my pan. Got this wonderful alizarin crimson and ultramarine blue, which make a great lavender. So I want it a little dirty, almost a mauve. So we're going to go back in here and quickly put in some of that mauve. As you can see, it's already blending with the other color. So I have to work pretty quickly, but I do want to knock it in so I don't forget where I am. And that might sound strange, but as you're working around, you want to make sure you have the right color for the right spot. And over here, I have my handy dandy mustard jar. These are so cool. The kind that look like a little barrel, because they have a handle on them. So when you're outdoors, you can
nice.
You can bungee that to your. Sorry, my hand was in the way, but you can bungee that little puppy onto your easel, and they're really sturdy. They can go into a backpack and they don't break easily. So I really like them.
What kind of mustard?
It's German. My husband's from that part of the world, so we must get the real stuff. Of course, I like Dijon.
I actually don't even like mustard, but I like the idea of having a jar with a handle on it.
Good move. I think jams might come like this too. Okay, I usually work with a Payne's gray. I love that it's already dark, but it's still not dead the way some of the blacks are. So the blue black that I'm working with is ivory black, and I'm pretty excited about that. What I'm doing right now, as you can see, is I'm mixing a really dark kind of maroon-ish color, and I'm going to use it down here. I want to talk to you too. If you are not familiar with working with gouache, or a lot of the mediums, if you're a beginner, you'll find that nobody nailed your brush to one position in your hand. The flat brush can be used for sharp edges. It can be used for wide washes, and that's why I love using them. Now, I'm not doing a solid line all the way across. I'm just going to indicate that there's brush going on back here. And I like that dark brown in contrast with what I'm going to go over, and that's green. So I don't want to make it too uniform because then it starts to look like piano keys. Okay, here we go. Got some good dark shadows in there. Now we're going to just go in here and scrub some dark. And again, we're going to go over it with our green. So I'm going to let them bleed together. In this case, I think it'll work because we want that undercoat to look pretty dirty. I miss my ochre. I always use ochre, and we just didn't have it today. So bear with me as I create a whole new ochre. Or yellow. Okay. That's right. I usually have a little scratch paper with me, but I don't. So we're just going to go directly on. And I'm letting this puddle and do its thing because we're just having fun. I'm going to do it thick enough so that I can go back through, I hope, if I'm quick enough, and do some scratching into it, because that is a great way. I happen to have the hotel key here. I'm going to lay this down for just a minute because I'm going to need my rag handy. And I'm going to use one of my washable blue rags. These are great. They're shop rags. They're paper, but they are so sturdy you can wash them. So now we're going to scrape through this to show some grass. And it's easier than trying to do an entire field of grass with a number 1 or number 2 brush.
Yeah, interesting.
I learned this from 𝗥𝗶𝘁𝗵. Great shortcut. Okay, now we're going to go back in over here. I don't want to overdo it because I don't want it to look sort of scruffy. We're going to go over here and put in some more here. Now, this is where this patch of grass starts to grow up and get taller. Mm-hmm. So that's when my strokes are going to work. And I do that totally deliberately. Down here, we've got an interesting shadow that's like this dark, dark color. So I'm going to put in a little blacky blue here. And there's some green grass growing through. So we're going to bring that up by taking my grains and putting them here. Now, I've told you before, and I will tell you again, these little spritzers are so great to keep gouache warm. I'm doing this backwards. There we go. Oops, I may have sprayed you, Carrie. Sorry about that. So what I'll do is I will go through and I will periodically spray the chambers with this. It doesn't water it down too much. It just keeps the gouache from growing the skin. So let's grab that yellow. Let's grab that green. We're going to go over here on the other side of the rock. And as you see, I'm coming in at the top of the rock and I'm butting into that rather than trying to paint strokes around it. If you've ever painted the wall of a house, it's called cutting in. And that's what I did for many years when I was a decorative painter. So that's how I approach this as well. Then you just spread that out. And the reason why is because you can end up with a lot of those sort of streaks that kind of affect the quality and the look of your painting. Mm-hmm. So I like to go right up to it with the flat, kind of get right there. If I overlap, it's not a big deal, but I'm trying to keep it fairly clean And then we're going to go back in and we're going to kind of bring these two areas together. Now I want to get this a little bit moist again. We're going to go back in. There's our green and our gray. I'm getting a little too much blending. Go back, get that reddish color, put it down here. And then we're going to wait a couple seconds. And we're going to get our card again and scrape through it. There are lots of things you can use to scrape, but I like the card. Now, as you're seeing me do this, you'll see the color of the substrate that's dried come through. So it isn't going back down to, I said substrate, the base color. It's not going down to the substrate. It's going down to the base color. And so you get this variety of depth, color, texture. And I love that. It helps so much in defining this whole scene. I'm going to go up into the grass and do a different pattern. So I'm kind of thinking in my head, X's and Y's up here. The grass is a bit scruffier looking anyway, and I don't want it to be too patterned with the other stuff down here that's taller like that. So we'll cut in a bit with that, but
Leslie, Cheryl is asking, do you ever use a wet palette, especially if you're doing plein air painting?
Absolutely. I have my there it is in its little Ziploc, and it's all folded up at the moment that it's moist. So I will switch over. I wanted to be able to get this all on camera so that you could see what I was working with and the colors I was using, and trying not to put too much on the table in front of me because there isn't a lot of room to work. I'm at the dining room table of the timeshare in Sedona. When we checked in, we said, would it be okay if we broadcast? And we said, yes. Okay, so over here, we're getting a bit of, on that left, we're getting a bit of brighter yellow. I'm going to get myself some more of my cad yellow medium, and I'm going to put it back over here, and I'm going to dedicate it to white because I've taken most of the other and kind of made it mostly ochre. So I want to try to distinguish the others here. All right, now we've got this beautiful, beautiful stuff going on right in here. Right underneath all this stuff, and it kind of crosses into this area. Sorry. It is also the time when the cottonwood shed, and most of it went up my sinuses yesterday.
Of course it did.
So sorry about that. Anyway, all right. So I'm going to kind of work my way up. As you look over this rock back here, I'm going to cut back into the top of that rock too. I really want to save that till I'm ready to cross over with a lot of the greens. And we're going into this very simple kind of indication of what's back there. And that's where we have a lot of breaks in the trees. I'm grabbing a little green, putting it in. And we're just going to kind of indicate back here. All right, so thanks everybody for coming, by the way. I know you were expecting Eric Rhoads to talk about marketing, and you're kind enough to hang out with me, so thank you.
Well, we're so happy that you are kind enough to fill in last minute.
Oh, it's fun. It was fun because when Amandine contacted me, we were just driving up into the Sedona Hills, and we had a double rainbow that I'd never seen, that went from the right side up over us and then to the left side as we were driving up. It was double. It was huge, biggest thing I've ever seen, and it was like we were driving through gigantic arches of color.
Oh, that's cool.
Oh, amazing. Okay, I'm going to give this some variation in color back here, because we don't want it to be the same thing. And I'm scumbling, really. I'm not paying a whole lot of attention to it, but I'm looking at the screen, and it kind of sort of seems like it's working. We're good with that. If you haven't done gouache before, and you end up buying a set, don't limit yourself to only one manufacturer's colors. Here's why. Some have, in my experience, some have a particular, say, a green that you've been looking for, and it's not too bilious. It's not like you're trying to make everything Merry Christmas. Some of them are olive, and not all manufacturers do the same thing in terms of the mixing and the colors you end up with. So I love to be able to blend different brands. And at home, I use probably 4 different brands. We're going to take my black and my blue and go back in there again. I'm going to add a little bit of it, alizarin crimson, because I don't want that green to be too pure. I want it to sort of be mucky. Again, it's just the foliage back there. I'm probably going to play with that later, but for the time being, that's enough. Now, let's go back down here. We've got a gray area here. This is going to be tricky because I usually do this with kind of a sponge, a natural sponge. Since I don't have it with me, we're going to vamp this and try to get it as pebbly looking as possible. Why? Because I love the change of textures in paintings. So I'm going to go to a smaller brush, dry this baby off, go to a smaller brush and kind of dab in different colors and see if we can't find that variation. So we're going to go in with a little green. And I'm using, this is a 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗀, and I'm trying to look for the number. It's a 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗀 and it's small. I can't see that. I can't see the size. Just take my word for it. I never lie. Much. So let's go down here with this. We're going to bleed this off. Again, random, have fun, be loose. Let the paint kind of take you on a ride. It's kind of fun that way. Okay, so I'm going to go in a little more blue. I'm keeping it cool, but I don't want it to be redundant and look too much like the rest of the green. So there's a lot of light that hits it over here. So we're going to let it wait a minute. I'm going to go in here, and even though I'm using my 𝗣𝗶𝘁𝗀, I'm going to come from the top and hit the edge of that rock, trying to keep the shape of the rock in place and not make it too murky. Okay, now we're going to go over here, and my gray has gotten very, very green. And so what I want to do is put the shadow of these 2 clusters of grasses. I want to give them an undercoating of green. I'm sorry, dark blue over the green and black. We're doing a little more mixing than I usually do because I like to have things set up with very specific colors. So forewarned is forearmed. You've been told that we're vamping.
Working on the fly.
That's right. You bet. Hey, at least I'm not out there in 42 degrees, which it is today. But it's beautiful up here. If any of you have a chance to get to Sedona, Arizona, do it. It's beautiful. All right, I'm going to go back to my larger brush, but I'm going to use a slightly narrower one. It's a 1/2 inch flat. And I'm going to throw in that beautiful gray of the concrete that's got a lot of brown running through it. It's going to be a fun color. So work with me here. I am mixing green, alizarin. I got some of that ochre I blended. Even a little blue. Oh, I like that. Now I'm gonna work horizontally. The reason is this is helping me shape the petals. I'm not having to work at it quite so much. This might be a little too brown, so we'll wait a minute and let it come back, dry in a little, and then we're going to let it come back with some of the colors in there. I'm going to take it down here and pick up some of that blue. And then go back in here. I love the colors. Very interesting thing happens with people say the red rocks, oh, how pretty. When you have rain like we've had, it makes them even more brilliant. So when the sun hits them, it takes your breath away. So pretty. Okay. I don't want this to be too much of one color because then what that does is it creates a wall instead of depth. So we're going to go back here and break it up with some paler blue. Getting a little dark. So I'm going to cut in with some white at this point.
Reminds me of the river here.
Yeah, they do. They look like a river. It's amazing. They have lots of creeks and rivers here, which makes it wonderful for painting. Okay, and I'm going to tone down that back wall of the concrete area in a moment. I want to get in more blue-green. I'm seeing this incredibly beautiful blue-green. So I'm going to put that back in, and then I'm going to let this sit. Just let it sit. And I'm going to take a little bit of blue into the alizarin, and I'm going to kind of change some of this stuff back here. A little strong. Oh, but I like it. Let's do this. Just a tad. I'm going to come back in a few minutes, and because I love those fallen leaves over there. Let me see if I can pick them up now. It's very wet over in here, so I don't want it to get too muddy. Okay. Now, back over here, I want to give this some depth on the right side. Over here, it sort of disappears off into whatever this tree is. That can be tricky. Because you don't want to call attention, but you want to give dimension.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds like a byline. No attention, just dimension. All right, let's give this a moment to dry. Do you want to take over, Carrie, and talk about something vital?
Something vital. Sure. We can talk about how we've got Gouache Boot Camp coming up in February. It's our newest event. For those of you who, like me, struggle with the nuances of gouache, the colors tend to dry in different value, like lights will dry darker, darks will dry lighter. So we decided to do a boot camp for gouache where we'll talk about the essentials, talk about plein air painting, water control, medium handling, all of the good stuff. So that's coming up on February 19th. You can check that out at 𝗥𝗶𝘁𝗵.com. It's going to be a fun time. It's a one-day event. It's going to be live. So we'll have everybody there answering your questions live. It'll be kind of similar to this where we, talk and chat and ask questions. So it's going to be fun. So check that out. It's 𝗥𝗶𝘁𝗵.com. Yeah. Do we need more time? I can still fill more time.
Thank you. I realized I needed to tip my board, so I could talk about that. But gouache dries very quickly, but when you work as quickly as I am, it's wanting to run into other stuff, which is actually kind of cool looking, but you don't want it to get muddy. So as it dries, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do that tamping with this brush and try to move it around so it looks more pebbly. One of the things about Sedona is it is known for its rocks. It's known for the areas of the rocks where they've built houses around and put in roads. And I would say a quarter of the roads are dirt, or were at one point paved, and then they walked away and went, never mind. All right, so I love what's going on in here now. I'm not sure if the camera picks it up, but I do love the fact that this stuff is allowing me to dab. Ordinarily, I'd have a natural sponge that goes much faster, but this is kind of fun. And I'm doing something called lifting. Here we go. Called lifting, and I'll show you what it is. Back here, that was pretty solid gray. And I went in with a damp but clean brush and pulled some of the gouache off. As it sets up, it's harder to lift, but it can create these fabulous areas of kind of shine on the road. And You can take soft areas out. You can soften hard edges. It's really, really neat to be able to do that. I don't want to do too much streaking because I do not want it to look like a river. I want it to look more like the concrete where there are puddles. So that's what we're doing. All right. Next, I'm going to go back. Let me show you something. When you want to test the dryness of your pieces, you don't go in like this. Your hands have too much oil. You want to go in with your knuckles. Plus, you can contaminate if you're not careful. So this area is dry. I'm going to work on that rock a bit more. What we've got is base coats right now, and it's all pretty loose, pretty organic looking, and I'm just going to tighten it up a smidge. The way the photograph works, there were more greens up here, so I think what I'm going to do is just imply those while everything else dries a bit more. Then I'll go back and do the rock. I'm going to try to loosen this by lifting and moving the gouache up here. I'm just going to imply hedge, trees, branches, trunks, whatever. And it's going to be random, but it's going to fill in the space. It's not going to be a point of attention. It's just going to kind of finish off the top of the painting there. This also gives me, having the focal point here and going vague up here and around, it gives me the opportunity to consider not free floating this in a frame, but actually matting over. So I might lose a 1/4 inch around the whole painting. So this is not going to matter. I think we'll take it over here a bit, and we'll add a little different color over here. There we go. Yeah, there you go. So you have a background that's sort of interesting, but not overwhelming. Add some more colors in later. I'm feeling better about it. And it's showing a bit of depth. Okay, we're going to muddy that just a bit so it's more homogenized. And then we're going to go back over here. In my actual photograph, there is a car parked back there. It's my car. And I didn't want to include that. I thought it was distracting, and you get the shiny bumper, etc., etc. So we're just working again on vague brush over there. I do want to put in some branches, so I think I can. It's a little wet, so they're tending to spread a bit. I think I'll dab them and back them off. So I've implied that they're there, but I'll get in and do some tighter detail later. Going to a different brush, I'm going to go to I think my filbert would work, but just let me play with these things. This is a set of brushes I bought that were specifically for gouache or acrylic, interestingly enough. I sometimes use my watercolor brushes. I learned with my watercolor brushes, but gouache is so opaque and dries so quickly, it can end up in your hasp pretty easily. I'm working with the flat end of my flat brush. It's the smaller one. I'm trying to go into the detail of the base of this rock. I love the way putting the wash in the first place gave it depth and shape, because rocks are planes, not as in winged planes, but planes in geometry. So you want to let them be. You want to underscore them, if anything. I like to start at the bottom and not do a lot. Excuse me. Here we go again. Thank you, Cottonwoods. I love you, really. You want to go to those planes. You want to think about it as being planes, not about exactly a rock. Now on the left, down here, you've got some interesting texture starting. So I'm turning my flat to address that, going flat up against the rock, flat up against the corners, and stopping. And then a few dabs over here, because there is kind of a lip. There's kind of a lip, as you see where there you are down there. Thanks. It's hard to find it there. There's a lip on the top of the rock, and we don't want it to start looking like a smile. As human beings, we love to, what's the word, anthropomorphize, make things look like there's something else, particularly, apply human aspects to them. And so that's why I try to disconnect that and go to geometry and then take a look back. I'm not in a position where I can stand back and really look this over, which I ordinarily would do, take a walk away from it, turn away from it, and then look back again. And it suddenly will appear what is wrong, what needs to be fixed. Not wrong, but doesn't work. Let's put it that way. Nothing's wrong.
Have you ever tried painting upside down?
Yes. Yes. We've done that. Really fun. It does. It disassociates you from what you're painting. So it becomes what you see versus what you know, or what you think you know. And there's a lot of assumptions. I teach kids art, and I remind them that trees are not all lollipops. And one way we do that is turn our pages upside down and have them paint it and then turn it back around. You'd be amazed at the oohs and ahs. All right, so what I'm doing now is dry brushing, which is really cool that you can do with gouache, because we've got some sediment. We've got the fact that a lot of this is limestone. And so you're going to have these discoloration in some of these areas. It gets very yellow up here, which is good because it'll stand out against that dark pebbled background in front of it that's above the rock as we're looking at it. So I don't want to overwork that. I just want to spend some time with it. This is likely going to get fixed at home when I have the colors I really, truly want. But down here, we've got this really deep kind of crevice going on over here. And over here, I picked up a little bit of my gold in that. So it's kind of turning a different color than I want. I'm going to go back to my alizarin crimson and try. It's hard to do a wash layering over wash because of the fact the way it lifts. It's great to do with their acrylic wash, but when you do like this, you can overwork it and you don't get the look that you want. But I've got a blob of gray there that I really don't need, so I'm going to try to do this as quickly as I can. Okay, I got it the way I wanted it. Now, it's got a lighter value up here, so I'm actually going to use my finger and dab it. See that? So yes. you can go back in and you get this kind of cool lift look to it without overworking it, and it didn't smear a lot of the paint that I'm trying to hang on to. Okay. So this piece on the left, this guy is a little darker. I'm going to do real quick strokes in there, and I'm going to let the substrate lift into it because I don't want it, and I'm using my finger to dab. I don't want this corner, this front left corner of the rock to be as dark as the one facing us directly, because it isn't. And that cool darkness is just really gorgeous and defines the depth. Okay. So let's do this again. All right, I'm going to go back in. I'm still with my small square. I'm hitting it. I'm dabbing it is what I'm doing. And I'm trying to do quick strokes like we were doing earlier when we were cutting in. And the reason is, same reason. I want it to have definition, but I don't want it to be lifting and overworking and muddy. So understate, understate, understate. Okay, now this side of the rock, the right side of the rock is similar to, but oranger than the opposite side. So we're going to play with that. And if it doesn't work, it's one of those things I'll fix in the studio. If it does work, I will run in circles and clap my hands.
Leslie, we've got about 15 minutes left.
Thanks. Okay. Oh, I'm going to do the other rock. It got a little pink That's okay. So I'm going to do the other rock back here in a sec. I love what's happening here. Cool. All right, for our little rock, abbreviation. It's like when you have a human face and you do detail on the face, there might be another human near them, behind them perhaps, above them, and they're farther away. So you want to take it easy with that and just do really quick strokes, just imply. Dry brushing is ideal here. Hands are ideal here. Okay. All right. And then we're not going to do much more on that guy because I'm going to focus on getting the rest of these beautiful reeds in. I'm going now to a very small brush. This is my new travel brush. I'm so excited. And it is synthetic. It's very small. And so I'm going to go into this with our lighter colors from over here. I'm going to keep my key card handy in case I want to use it. But what I want to do is try to get that grassiness that's going on. So we're going to play around and see what we can get with this. I love that on the fly. On the fly. Okay, right now I'm mixing the green into that pile of ochre that I had created because I don't want the green Christmas. Okay, and then I'm going to do one thing maybe you do or don't do. I'm going to start at the top of some of these and stroke down the reeds that I'm trying to do and the grass I'm trying to do. Reason is we don't want it all to look the same. Some of it will be starting at the top, some of it starting at the bottom. And that way it looks like stuff's overlapping and you're not going to see reeds from top to bottom everywhere. It doesn't happen like that. So that's what we're doing here. I'm going to skip over to the left side because we are running out of time. Skip over to the left side of the painting and get those trees. I'm sorry, those bushes right here. They're like clusters of grass. I just love them. I'm going to start dark, do my strokes. They look like they're almost growing out of a vase. It's so perfect. So I'm going to try to imitate that scoop shape, but not overwork it. Okay, that's one cluster. Then I'm going to move over here. There's another cluster about right there. And it's got lots of brown in that base, but I'm going to take the green first. I'm loving this brush. It's the first time I've used it, and I think it's fabulous. Okay, and that goes pretty tall. Okay, now I'm going to go back in and redefine the base, and I'm using alizarin crimson and that black, and I'm going to let them just be, and I'm just going to throw that in, because if you don't, your plant's going to look like they're floating, and that's not what you want. We want to anchor them. So these guys are anchored. I'm going to anchor this over here again with a little more. I'm going to do grass coming up here. It's much more golden, but there are, as I mentioned earlier, patches of green. So we're going to sort of let that kind of glide in there. It's very calligraphic to do this. It feels really loose.
Leslie, do you know what size that brush is?
It is a 4.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. It comes in a set and a travel bag, a little tiny pouch. It's perfect. And I'll do this quickly. You probably don't know this, but I'll demonstrate it anyway very quickly. It goes like that. It goes back into its own case. So you're traveling with something that's all of 5 inches.
Mm-hmm. Perfect.
Yeah, they're great. Got to be careful when you put it back in. You don't want to cut off that head. Now I'm going to do a little more over here, have some fun. I'm thinking of it as almost like calligraphy and illegible calligraphy, in fact. But we're trying to form that move some stuff around here. We're trying to form the rock without overworking the edges and without being demonstrative and saying, oh, that's a precious little edge right there. I have to paint that in. You don't. You can indicate it. And then I'm going to, so went along lines, and now I'm going to create kind of a bush back there, which actually exists. And since we're short on time, this is not going to be completed. I apologize, but I will keep working on it and post it on my Instagram, which is Leslie and the Red Stetson. And you'll see much more. I've got a fan brush. I would love to work with this. Now, just to show you real quickly how gorgeous this brush is working on the branches over here. They're not bleeding anymore because this is all dry. Branches, too, are something you don't want to do too many of, because when you look at a tree, you might see only little portions of it. But I'm loving that for the branches, too. Yay. Okay, we're going to go back under here, this rock, do that base, define that so that you know there it is. It's resting now on the ground. I love that. Yay. Okay, I'm going to take
about 10 minutes left.
Great, that's perfect, because what we're going to focus on is the grass, how it crosses over. Thank you, Cottonwoods, and makes it look like, or helps make it look like, that rock is planted in there. So we're going to do this right in front of it, go right over it. If it bleeds a little bit, that's okay. It's a painting, and you don't want it to look, unless you really are a hyper realism painter, you don't want it to look too photography. You want it painterly. So that's why a lot of this is super loose. It's meant to be. Man, I'm having fun with color today. These are great. And then I'm taking this color right into the others. It's going to pick it up. It's going to change slightly, which grass does. We love that. Now, I'm going to take a jump and move over to the grass that's coming out of these plants over here in front of the concrete. We're going to start at the top, come down into the dark green, and go way up. Now I'm stroking back and forth. I don't want to make it too precious with this stuff. I want it just to be really playful. Okay. And see how nice and strong the pale colors are against the dark colors. And I'm using quite a warm, almost yellow-green here. I don't want to go slap happy up there. I'm going to come back over this guy. Even reeds this narrow will pick up light. So up here at the top, it's very, very pale. And I'm going to try to indicate that with some simple strokes. Also, they're kind of reedy at the top. So I'm going to hit them hard and then drag that line out so that you see that. Then with the same type of stroke and same color, we're going to put in our fallen leaves. I want to get the paint towards the front of the brush. So not only am I loading it, I'm tapping it off in the palette before I come over here, right? And we're going to do we've got leaves. And we're going to dash them across the road there. Don't get too staccato. What I like is stuff, if it starts with pattern, two things. The good old finger to pale it out a bit. But more than that, you can use music. And I go 1, 2, cha-cha-cha, 3, 4, cha-cha-cha. And that way it keeps you from being static or repetitive in a patterned way. Now, leaves are going farther away, so we're going to make smaller dots back there. And they're going to be more homogeneous. So we're going to make kind of a pile of them over here with teeny tiny drops like that. Okay, and we've got some fallen on the rock over here, so we're going to do that. It needs to be a bit paler, so we're going to make it a little paler to drop those guys in. And then that kind of ties the scene together. Got a weird white mark over here, so I'm going to make that one of those pretty white grasses and reeds. Okay, and this is really fun because at this point, you can just let her go.
Yeah.
Woohoo! And your brush will have picked up a couple of different colors, so it's going to change, which grass does, depending upon what the background is to the grass. So
We are at the 5-minute mark.
cool. Okay, I'm going to tighten up this behind this rock over here. I'm going to go right in over here and define that guy a little better. We're going to go in, and by defining it, we're going to cut into this blue gray back here, and we're going to pull it up, lift it, and drop it in over the rock back there. And you're going to use real loose strokes. And then I'm going to stroke with some of that blue to give some of the grass back there that depth. We want to get rid of this guy again over here. So we're just going to shape that rock a little better. All right, I feel pretty happy with this, even in the short time we've done this. We will definitely go back to the studio. Most of my plein air stuff does anyway, because the wind blows, the sun gets too hot. Some lovely tourists very curious about your work can get kind of sort of in the way.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mostly I break down and go back to the quiet of my studio. All right, I'm smearing the top of the back of this rock into the pebbles. I think it's nice that way. It doesn't have to be uniform, as I said. And I'm going to dry brush this once it dries. So that's going to be after we run out of time. But I think it's okay. I kind of like it. I hope you had fun.
Yeah, it did. It was great watching your process and how you approached everything, and then watching what I thought was a river turn into pavement. No, it was great.
All right, we've got some red leaves because they're all different as they fall. So I'm going to see if the red leaves show up in here or not. Kinda. They give texture anyway, and interest. And all the leaves aren't yellow. Actually, in this area, they're 𝗥𝗶𝘁𝗵, I think is what the leaf is. And they look like a little heart almost. Beautiful. All right. We don't want them looking like goldfish in the river. So got to be careful. Okay. So what do you think?
It looks great.
Good.
Thank you. I
This
hope you
time
all
up.
enjoyed Leslie stepping in for us. I appreciate Leslie coming in last minute to help us out. We're going to drop her website and her Instagram in the chat, so be sure to follow her. That way you can see her finished demo from today. She's going to post that on Instagram. Thank you, Leslie, so much for joining us today and for this wonderful demo.
Thanks.
Yes, and for everyone who is watching today, we've got a free gift. 7 Reasons Gouache might be your new favorite medium. I know it's mine, and I hope it's yours soon. So check that out at gouachelive.com/7reasons. And we also have, someone brought this up in the chat, I think it was Karen. I am also hosting a free webinar on Thursday. If you're interested in learning about watercolor, it's going to be 7 watercolor mistakes you're probably making and how to fix them. And we've got artist Jeff Allen, who is absolutely amazing. I got to host him on Art School Live last year. So be sure to check that out. You can sign up at americanwatercolor.net/webinar. And again, that's free. That's taking place Thursday at 2 o'clock. So join us for that. Don't forget to subscribe to this channel at Art School Live on YouTube. That way you get notified when we're going live with wonderful content like we did today. And you can also follow Eric on Instagram at Eric Rhoads. Don't forget to check that out. Thank you guys all so much for joining us today. Thank you again to Leslie. I'm so glad that you were able to join us today, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.